Efendim, hakikaten çok böyle, gerçi James Bond filmi de vizyona giremedi bu pandemi sürecinden ama böyle bir sırlı mırlı bir şey var yani sırada. Hepimiz meraklıyızdır sırlara değil mi? Ama sır dediğin hani iki kişinin bildiği sır değildir diyor. Sır dediğin sır gibi olmalı. Hakikaten iyi korunmalı, iyi kollanmalı, aman dikkat edilmeli. İşte uygulamalı kimlik güvenliğinde sırların korunmasına yönelik bir mevzuya geldi sıra. Secret management diyorlar. Galiba öyle diyorlar. Efendim bunu da CyberArk'ten, evet Uzi Elon, Erdal Aktan'la konuşacak. Vay. Hadi bakalım.
So, hi everyone. I am Erdi Aktan. I'm a pre-sales consultant and moderator of the sessions. And this session's topic is application identity security. We are hosting Uzi Elon, who is the vice president of the DevOps branch of CyberArk. So, hi Uzi, how is everything on your side?
Hi, thank you for having me here. Very exciting to talk about this topic.
It is a pleasure to have you here. So, Uzi, I'm curious, what is the biggest challenge in the secrets management area and how your tool address it?
So it's a very good question. So let's talk a little bit about what is DevOps. So DevOps is the how to automate and how to make sure that we automate all the pipeline using human tools and make it as a one flow. So when we're talking about DevOps, when we're talking about relationship between people, when we are talking about processes, this is the biggest challenge when we're talking about secret management. First of all, let's talk about the processes. Who owns the secret? Who going to manage the secret? How can I introduce a secret? Remember, when we're talking about secret management, we're talking about two different groups. We're talking about developers and we're talking about security team. And sometimes there is a difference in the target of these teams. Security want to have everything more secure. Developers, they need to run fast. They need to deliver fast. They think about CI/CD. So the first thing is to define the right processes in the organization. Who owns what? And even when you define these processes, you have to remember when you're thinking about security, you need to think in a modern way because security cannot hold the developer's velocity. So the first thing that you need to define in the organization is ownership, processes, and then you need to think about the tools. What are the important things that you need from the tools? You need tools that will able to help you to automate these processes because at the end, we're talking about velocity. So that will be the first part of the challenges is the processes and the automation. The other challenge is more about the technology. So let's say that we have a tool and the main key here when we're talking about secret management is related to two aspects. One aspect is how to identify the application, but the other how to identify the application. So what is an application? In today's world, application can be everything. It can be a Jenkins job. It can be scripts that runs on the application. It can be containers-based applications that run in the cloud. It can be Lambda function. So it's very, very wide. So the first thing is identify all your application, workload, or processes. We can call it a different name. And the second thing is after we define what is an application, what is a workflow, we need to identify it. A lot of the tools today using API key or token to identify the keys, to identify the application. So let's say I have a script, let's say that I have a Lambda function, let's say I have a token, sorry, I have a containers-based application, I put this specific token in my application. And the problem with that this token will give you access to all the secrets that you required in the application, right? So The other challenge or the technology challenge is how to identify the application. The way that we are doing it in our tools is actually quite interesting. We are trying to use the specific environment parameters or environment property to identify the application. The way that it works, let's say that we are running in Kubernetes. So every pod that started has some characteristic. What is the what is the location? What is the ID? What is the size? There is different characteristics. What we are doing, we are getting all of these characteristics. We create a CSR, send it to our tools, and then my tools will open, verified all these characteristics, and now we have an API directly to the tool itself, to the infrastructure. So if we're talking about Kubernetes, I'm going to verify via Kubernetes API that all of these characteristics, that there is a pod with all of these characteristics. And after getting this identification, two-phase identification, it gives me a very strong understanding and verification for this application. So we are doing it with Kubernetes, with OpenShift. We are doing it with the cloud. The cloud provides us also those specific API to identify the job. And even in Jenkins, we can identify specific job. So I think the technology challenge is to identify uniqueness application in order to verify and to provide the right authorization for the application.
That's great. It comes to first principle of the security in all domains. First of all, things saying that first see what you have, identify what you have, then try to protect it. And it's also right for the secrets also. So Uzi, where do you see the secrets management market in 5 years?
The secret management market changed dramatically in 5 years. It's changed dramatically in the last 5 years. It's going to continue to change. First of all, it's going to be everywhere because automation is everywhere, and it's going to be very connected to the automation. What I see around it, I see some feature and progress in a different area. The first thing is all the automation tools around it. I believe that the secret management will be embedded in most of the automation tools. If today we have plugins to most of the CI/CD pipeline, I believe that identification and plugins will be very common, and the standard will be very clear. The industry standard for identification will be clear. I also see that the development going to be changed. So today we started to see some developers that started to work with service mesh, right? So I believe that the service mesh, which control between different what we call workload or application, will control dramatically also the secret management. And I believe that something that can help the application. Another thing is the monitor and analyze. So let's think about why do we have secret management. Secret management allows us to protect the application or protect the secret from the application in order to make sure that no one will be able to get the secret and get our sensitive data. So yes, we can start and we are going to automate it and we are going to protect it, but we also, because application is very predictive, we can understand what happened during the application. I see a lot of AI-based tools that will be able to analyze and monitor the request from the application. And if something is changed or if something is work or looks abnormal, it's going to be alerted. I can give you an example. Let's say that we have an application. We have the application goes to the database 5 times, in average, 5 times in the database in hour, and we know that in the peak hour it grows up to 20. What happens if there is a malicious code and suddenly it goes to the database and get much more data? So this something can be found by AI or by automatic rules. I believe that in the future we're going to have much more AI processes around it. And the last thing that I'm going to be that's going to be changed in the last, in the next 5 years, I believe it's also the secret itself. So today we have secrets. We have secrets to the database. We have secrets to log into the cloud. We are going to move from static secret to just in time. We're going to have a secret, so all the infrastructure will allow us to create one-time login options with limited privilege, and to provide it to the application. So on the fly, when the application asks for a specific permission, after identify the application, the just-in-time mechanism going to create the least privilege session and provide it to the application. So more automation, AI-based analytics, and just-in-time. I think those are the three main changes that we're going to see in the secret management market.
That's great. Thanks for this clear clarification. So, so what do you think? How does the cloud transformation affect this market?
So actually something that we saw lately is that the cloud transformation happening. More than 85% of the enterprise already moved into the cloud, and actually more than most of them, around 80%, also save and store sensitive data in the cloud. So it's happening. So the question is how, or what's going on with this cloud transformation, and how does it work? So there are two options. Option number one, or method number one, is the lift and shift. We can see an enterprise of taking an application, legacy application, move it to the cloud, set it up on a static EC2, let's say AWS, and the application started to work the same way that it works in the local infrastructure. So the idea is that building a virtual data center in the cloud, that's the first option. It's very easy to do. It's the fastest way to move to the cloud. And we saw that a lot of enterprise started with that. Regarding secretless, moving to the cloud, it's a good opportunity to add secret management solution to the application. We're talking about legacy application. Not all the application contains this secret management. And when you're moving to the cloud, you need to recompile the application. You need to retest the application. That's the right way. You want to increase security. That's the right way to add the secret management to the cloud. Why it's important? When you're moving to the cloud, very fast you find yourself with a lot of users in the cloud. Very fast you find yourself with a lot of privilege on the cloud. So to protect the secret become even more important. The other trend that we are seeing is that, okay, we are moving to the cloud, or enterprise moving to the cloud, but they are moving with cloud native applications. So they're building these microservices-based applications that are using Kubernetes, OpenShift. I can see a lot of OpenShift, but I also can see a lot of native Kubernetes solution for the cloud, EKS, for example. And what we can see there is that the enterprise create and build these native apps to the cloud, and then it's scale automatically, it's grow automatically. Microservices started, Kubernetes or OpenShift managing the pods, and that's something that we are seeing more and more. And for that, you need to, I think, the using secret management solutions that knows how to identify every pod is very powerful, because you want to control every pod and you don't want one pod to be able to access all the secrets. If you think about it, every pod, every microservices may require a different secret. So you need to be able to identify specific pod. We already started to see those kind of application even in the biggest enterprise. And I think this is where we are going when we are talking about the cloud. We are talking about moving to this containers-based application. But when you are moving to the cloud, and this is also something that we found that a lot of customers or enterprise using more than one cloud. So we are talking about a multi-cloud approach. Some of them related to specific requirements of the project team. One project team want to use Azure, other project team want to use AWS. So suddenly we have projects that runs in a different cloud. And another thing is also related to budget. Some cloud services, the basic services. I'm not talking about the advanced services that added on top of the cloud, but the cloud services, the compute services become very standard in the industry, and now a lot of enterprise pick it by price. So we can see some movement also between cloud, and we see this multi-cloud approach. What we are trying to do in our solution, remember, when I'm starting my application in AWS, I have my AWS identification. When I'm starting my application in Google, I have my Google identification. What we are trying to do, we are trying to take this identification and expand it to the cloud to make sure that if I have a workload that run in one cloud and it needs to get some secret from resources outside of the cloud, we will be able to use the same ID, the same cloud identification, and actually expand it to the full application environment.
That's great. It's merging the siloed infrastructure to the one place, right?
Yes,
That's
exactly.
Right. So what are the takes required to build for successful CI/CD pipeline?
CI/CD pipeline, it's interesting. I'm working with a lot of customers. I didn't see one pipeline that worked the same between two different companies. So the most important thing is to be able to automate it, fully automated. We don't need to have any manual actions, and I can give you some examples for manual actions. If you're talking about tests, sometimes we saw that, and I saw some CI/CD pipelines that you run your application, you create your artifact, and after that, in order to run the test, you're going to do it manually. So first of all, everything needs to be fully automated from the moment that you write the code, then the commit, then the build, the artifact, the building the environment. We can see more and more automatic CI/CD pipeline. So the first one is fully automated. The second one is adding scan capabilities. In every, if you're thinking about the security aspect, if everything is automatically, you want to protect your artifact. And now what you want to do, you want to make sure that no one will be able to inject malicious code during the CI/CD pipeline. So even, so you need to have a scanner, you need to have the way to identify the artifact from the moment that it's built until it's arrived to production. So you need to make sure that no one actually changed the artifact. So this is when we are talking about the security aspect of the CI/CD. So fully automated, scanning and make sure that no one changed the artifact, and at the end, the standard APIs. All of those tools provide you an API. All of the tools need to be integrated with other tools. Every day it's a new tool. Every day there is a new feature around it. So all should be based on the API. And sometimes you need to change your CI/CD pipeline and to use and to develop some layers that translate the process based on the APIs that provided by the tools. So all of the tools need to start to communicate together, and the best way to do it is based off the APIs.
That's great. So it's my last question, and then it's kind of like a favor for you to ask, for me to ask you. So can you please suggest some best practices for secret management implementation?
Yeah, so if I'm thinking about best practices, I want to talk about 3 specific best practices. The first one is consuming the secret. You have to remember, when we are talking about secret management, we're talking about implementation in a different organization. We have the developers, we have the DevOps, and we have the security. The security can install the tools. The security can set up the secrets, but the developers can just decide to store the secret in the code, hard code, and are not going to use it. Why? Because developers want to run faster. Developers need to own those secrets. If the security will not be able to provide them the way to get it automatically, they are not going to use it. Another thing is that if developers need to change their code dramatically, they're not going to adapt into it. So the new tools, and this is regarding best practices, need to provide a way to consume the secret easily for the developers. And this is why we in CyberArk or in Conjure, our open source tool, trying to make sure that the developers will be able to consume the secret easily. So we have four different ways. Of course, we have the API, we have some open source code samples that help you to do that, but we added a few more things. We understand that there are a lot of secret managed in the Kubernetes secret, but those secrets just store there. So what we are doing, we have in our integration with Kubernetes, we actually identify the pod, getting the relevant secret and push it directly to the Kubernetes secret. So the code, the applications that use to get the secret from the Kubernetes secret will continue to work the same. You don't need to change the code, but we are going to manage and audit and make sure that we rotate all the passwords. And right now we're getting a win-win. The developers don't have to change anything, and the security teams can provide it as a service and make sure that it's secure. So this is something very important. The other things is another best practices, and we also have some open source around it. So as we're talking today, the way that the application consumes the secrets, they have to go to, let's say that my application needs some database access. It needs to go to, it needs to go to any vault, identify itself, get the secret, and then need to go to the database. We believe that in the future, the right way to do it is to have a broker that's going to do it for you and going to provide the session to the application. So we have open source named secretless. The idea behind it that the application will go to the database directly without going through a secret management solution. What we're going to do here, we have the broker that's going to listen, and every time that there is a database request, it's going to identify the application, get the secret, create the session to the application, and provide the session, the database session into that application. So it's really transparent to the application, and you add a very strong security layer into this process. Another benefit of this secretless is that you've been able to monitor and understand better the traffic. So it's going to help you to alert if there are problems. And the last thing we talked about it during the session is best practices, build an automated process around it. Make sure that you can create the secret, the developers can create the secret automatically. And then when it's moved to production, the security team will take the ownership, but you need to make sure that you provide the developers all the APIs to start to work automatically without the need to wait few days for the secret, without the need to wait few days for approval. Developers have to run fast. Their main mission is to deploy quality, but fast. Security, they can be part of this process, and they need to be able to provide these advanced tools and advanced capabilities to the developers.
Great, Uzi. It was a really pleasure to have this conversation with you. Actually, it's really broadened my sight for the application identity security and also its importance to DevOps environment and also hybrid cloud environments. That was really nice to talk with you, Uzi. Thanks.
Same here. Thank you for having me again. Thank you very much.